Some people think silence means weakness. They think the quiet person in the room is disconnected, passive, easy to manipulate. But human psychology tells a very different story. Because the people who speak the least are often the ones who see the most. And when a quiet empath finally understands their own power, everything changes. They stop chasing approval. They stop explaining themselves. And suddenly, the same people who ignored them become deeply uncomfortable around them. Not because the empath became cruel, because they became aware. There's something unsettling about a person who can read emotions without needing words. Someone who notices tension in a fake smile, hesitation in eye contact, insecurity hidden behind confidence. Quiet empaths don't just listen to conversations. They study energy, patterns, contradictions. And most people never realize they're being observed. That's the dangerous part, because the modern world is obsessed with loudness, loud opinions, loud personalities, loud confidence. Social media trained people to believe that power must always announce itself. But real psychological power rarely does. Real power watches first. Quiet people understand something most humans miss. People reveal themselves constantly. In the way they react when ignored. In the way they treat waiters. In the tone shift when someone successful enters the room. In the fake laugh. The forced confidence. The sudden defensiveness when the truth gets too close. Quiet empaths pick up on all of it. And because they rarely interrupt, people keep talking. They expose themselves without realizing it. That's why so many manipulators underestimate quiet people in the beginning. Manipulators look for reactions. They look for emotional impulsiveness. They look for insecurity they can control. But quiet empaths are harder to read. And humans fear what they cannot predict. Think about it. Why do some people become strangely nervous around calm individuals? Because silence creates psychological pressure. Most people are constantly broadcasting themselves, explaining, performing, seeking validation every few seconds. But the quiet empath doesn't play that game. They observe. And observation is powerful because it creates a symmetry. One person is revealing everything. The other is revealing almost nothing. That imbalance makes insecure people deeply uncomfortable, especially narcissistic personalities. A narcissist survives through emotional control. They need admiration, attention, reactions. They need to feel psychologically dominant. But quiet empaths often disrupt that dynamic naturally, not intentionally. Naturally, because they don't feed emotional chaos the way others do. And this is where things get darker. The empath usually doesn't realize their own impact at first. Growing up, many quiet empaths were misunderstood. Some were told they were too sensitive, too emotional, too reserved, too different. But sensitivity is not weakness. In psychology, heightened emotional awareness often develops from environments where a person had to read emotional danger carefully. Some people became observant because they wanted deeper understanding. Others became observant because they had no choice. They learned to study moods for survival, the angry tone, the emotional shift, the tension before conflict. Over time, their brain adapted. That's why many quiet empaths can walk into a room and instantly feel when something is off, even before anyone says a word. And most people don't understand how rare that ability actually is. Because emotional intelligence is not about being nice all the time. It's about perception, seeing beneath behavior, understanding what people hide from themselves. And once a quiet empath develops confidence on top of that awareness, they become incredibly difficult to manipulate. That's when everything changes. Because now they stop second-guessing their intuition. They notice the friend who only calls when they need something, the partner whose affection disappears when control disappears, the coworker who smiles publicly but competes privately. Quiet empaths begin seeing emotional transactions everywhere. And once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. This is why many empaths eventually become more selective, not colder, selective. There's a difference. Weak people call boundaries arrogance because they benefit from your lack of them. But psychologically healthy people understand something important. Access to your energy is a privilege. Not everyone deserves it. And quiet empaths eventually learn this the hard way. Usually after betrayal, after being emotionally drained, used, misunderstood, manipulated by people who confuse kindness with weakness. But pain sharpens perception. The empath who survives emotional manipulation becomes far more dangerous afterward. Because now they recognize the signs early. The love bombing, the guilt tactics, the fake vulnerability, the passive aggression hidden behind politeness. They see it almost immediately, and manipulators hate awareness. Because manipulation only works in darkness. The moment someone becomes emotionally conscious, the illusion starts collapsing. That's why emotionally intelligent people often intimidate toxic personalities without even trying. Their presence exposes things. And here's the strange part. Quiet empaths rarely seek power over others. That's what makes them different from narcissists. Narcissists want control. Empaths want truth. But truth itself becomes powerful. A calm person who sees clearly is extremely difficult to deceive. And most people are not prepared for that level of emotional perception, especially in modern society where performance matters more than authenticity. You've probably seen this yourself. The loudest person in the room often controls attention, but not respect. The calm person? They control emotional gravity. People feel their presence without understanding why, because certainty is quiet, desperation is loud. And quiet empaths eventually realize they don't need to dominate conversations to influence them. Sometimes the strongest psychological position is simply remaining emotionally centered while everyone else loses control. That alone changes social dynamics completely. Suddenly, people project onto you. Some admire you. Some fear you. Some try to provoke you just to get a reaction. Why? Because emotionally reactive people feel exposed around emotionally aware individuals. Your calmness reminds them of their chaos. And this is where most quiet empaths make a critical mistake. They spend too much time trying to save people who refuse to save themselves. They absorb emotional burdens that were never theirs to carry. They become therapists for broken people who only drain them. But eventually, the empath learns. Not everyone deserves unlimited empathy. Some people weaponize it. That realization is painful, but necessary, because mature empathy includes boundaries. Without boundaries, empathy becomes self-destruction. And once quiet empaths understand that, their entire presence changes. They stop over-explaining, stop seeking permission, stop shrinking themselves to make insecure people comfortable. Their silence becomes intentional, not insecurity, control. And people notice, even if they can't explain why. Because there's something deeply unsettling about a person who understands human behavior, yet no longer feels the need to prove anything. That kind of calm is rare, and rare things always carry power. The truth is, quiet empaths are underestimated because modern society confuses visibility with value. But psychology has always revealed something deeper. The people who observe the most often understand the game before everyone else. They notice manipulation faster, detect insecurity earlier, understand emotional dynamics more clearly, not because they're magical, because they pay attention. And attention is becoming one of the rarest abilities in the world. So if you've ever felt misunderstood for being quiet, if people assumed your silence meant weakness, if you've spent years observing more than speaking, understand this carefully. Stillness is not emptiness. Silence is not powerlessness. And the people who underestimate emotionally intelligent observers usually realize their mistake far too late. They never saw it coming. Subscribe to The Behavioral Edge for more deep psychological insights into human behavior, emotional intelligence, attraction, and self-mastery.